Hey, it's Rachel Abbott, and welcome back to the Standard's Tech and Science Daily podcast. If you're new here, make sure to give us a follow and hit that bell symbol so that you never miss a new episode. Coming up, Australia passes world-first law banning under-16s from social media accounts. But first, earlier in the week at a NATO conference in London, the Cabinet Office Minister, Pat McFadden, said that Russia and other adversaries of the UK are trying to use artificial intelligence to enhance cyberattacks against British infrastructure. He announced the creation of a research programme called the Laboratory of AI Security Research to keep on top of emerging threats. But what does AI look like in warfare?
AI itself was invented essentially by the U.S. military, right? I mean, the workshop where the term AI was coined in the late 1950s was funded by U.S. government. So the prospect of AI for warfare has been there not only in science fiction, but in the very roots of the AI field, right? AI can control drones. I mean, AI could also control UAVs, tanks, and so forth. We had AI with self-driving tanks and military vehicles, decades before we had it for Teslas and other cars out there. AI is doing surveillance, and this is a bit scary to me, actually. Eventually, you could have AI robo-soldiers walking across a battlefield, but we don't really need to get there. Flying and driving vehicles, submarines and stuff are enough.
That's Dr. Ben Goertzel, who is the CEO of the Artificial Superintelligence Alliance, the world's largest open-sourced independent entity in AI research and development, and founder of Singularity.net, the world's first decentralized AI platform.
I spent a number of years earlier in my life working with U.S. Army intelligence on the consulting basis and some other intelligence agencies. And back then, they were collecting so much data, but they didn't really know what to do with all that data. Like they didn't have a way to integrate it all together toward a useful purpose. But now AI can integrate so much data together, right? I mean, in terms of hacking to get into enemy networks, whoever your enemy may be, a machine learning algorithm can systematically search through a network for vulnerabilities, and the global internet is not built with security at the foundation. So yeah, I think on the whole, to my mind, the threat to humanity from people using AI to attack each other or rip each other off or exploit each other out of their own narrow human motivations, that threat, to my mind, is much clearer, more palpable, and probably greater than the hypothetical threat of, AI turning against people.
Dr. Goertzel wants to accelerate the emergence of human-level artificial general intelligence and superintelligence. He is granting over $1 million for international AI developers to advance this.
We're offering a series of grants in our ASI token, the cryptographic token associated with SingularityNet and with the Superintelligence Alliance that SingularityNet belongs to, for people to develop AI that's part of this OpenCog hyper system. And so it's $20,000, $50,000, $80,000 US dollars equivalent in tokens, depending on what the person does. But I think for some people, particularly in the developing world where there's as many brilliant AI developers as anywhere, this can be, something that can allow them to spend more of their time with us develop general intelligence.
Keep an eye out for this interview in full over the next month. And seeing as we're on the subject of AI, this coming weekend marks the second anniversary of ChatGPT on the 30th of November. Happy birthday for Saturday, I guess. Now, there was a national outcry when the much-loved Sycamore Gap tree beside Hadrian's Wall in Northumberland, famed for its scene with Kevin Costner and Morgan Freeman in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, was illegally cut down in September 2023. On the one-year anniversary of this act of eco-vandalism, the National Trust announced the Tree of Hope project, which will see the Trust hand Sycamore Gap saplings to 49 good causes so it can live on. Why 49? Well, one for every foot of the 200-year-old sycamore's height. And they are today announcing where the 49 of the cuttings will go. Recipients include the Rob Burrows Centre for Motor Neurone Disease at Seacroft Hospital in Leeds, Holly's Hope in memory of murdered Northumberland schoolgirl Holly Newton, and the Tree Sanctuary in Coventry. Next, and one we've been keeping an eye on, Australian Senator regulators have now passed a world-first law that bans under-16s from having social media accounts. This will see the toughest social media crackdown in the world, forcing platforms to take steps to ensure age verification protections are in place. TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, Reddit, and X will be liable for fines of up to 50 million Australian dollars if they don't systemically stop children younger than 16 from holding accounts. The legislation is set to come into force in November 2025. Let's go to a very quick break. Coming up in part 2, scientists work out the rise of the dinosaurs. See you back here in just a minute. Welcome back. Over 500 samples of fossilised dinosaur droppings have helped show how dinosaurs came to dominate the world. International research led by Uppsala University in Sweden analysed the dino-digestive material and created 3D images of the beast's internal structure and compared this with fossil data to identify feeding behaviour and their size. The scientists found that omnivorous ancestors of early dinosaurs took over from other four-legged beasts and then evolved into the first carnivores and herbivores towards the end of the Triassic era. They say increased volcanic activity may have led them to have a more diverse range of plants to feed on, which allowed for the emergence of larger and more diverse herbivore species, which in turn led to the rise of the carnivores. Next.
Today, we're going to make an omelette. First, we're going to need to crack our eggs into the bowl.
That's 3-year-old Carter from Dorset, who has become an overnight sensation after his parents shared his cooking videos on TikTok. This all started when his parents, Che and Adam, shared a video to his loved ones of him making a pizza. After encouragement, cooking with Carter took off, and as we can see, certainly shows his passion for food. So far, his tutorials have amassed tens of millions of views.
Please tap or insert your payment card.
Now, research by the University of Bath suggests labelling lone bananas as sad singles tugs at shoppers' heartstrings and increases their sales by over half. A study by the university's Bath Retail Lab tested the effectiveness of selling sad singles signage versus happy singles signage for loose bananas and tomatoes, and it was the lonely fruit and veg that shoppers felt most sorry for and were actually found to be nearly 60% more likely to buy. You're probably wondering why this research was conducted. Well, previous research revealed single bananas have shown to account for the highest amount both of climate impact and of food wasted at retailers. And finally, Judy Garland's iconic ruby slippers from the original 1939 classic The Wizard of Oz are to go on display in London before auction. They've had something of a troubled time, in fact reasonably recently. In 2005, they were stolen after being loaned to the Judy Garland Museum in Minnesota, and all that was left behind was a single red sequin. They were recovered by the FBI in 2018 following a tip-off and finally reunited with Michael Shaw, a Hollywood memorabilia collector, in January this year. The slippers, along with other memorabilia from the beloved film, will be on display at Heritage Auctions London sale room and offices on Hanover Street. They are one of only 4 surviving pairs made for the film and were worn in several key scenes, including the iconic end scene, where Dorothy, holding her faithful terrier Toto, clicks her heels together 3 times and recites, "There's no place like home." You're up to date. Come back at 4 p.m. for the Standard podcast with Mark Blunden. Tech and Science Daily will return on Sunday. For all the latest news, head to standard.co.uk, and we wish you a very lovely, restful weekend.